So far, so good. Okay, hi camper. This is Shannon. I am here with the lovely Valerie Schrader. Valerie, why don't you go ahead and say hi and introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, like Shannon said, my name is Val or Valerie. Either one works for me. I'm a somatic trauma practitioner specializing in childhood and intergenerational trauma, and I'm also a hiking girly and nature girly. So happy to be here today.
Yay, thank you so much.
You're
Oh,
welcome.
have you always been a fan of being out in the green, out in nature?
Yes. So in my family line on my dad's side, my grandmother was always having me out in nature. I didn't really realize a lot of what I was being taught was essentially what we would consider witchcraft. So I grew up very proud in those traditions of just, learning about nature, learning how to connect with it,
Mhm.
learning about what was around me plant-wise, stuff like that. So yeah, this is in my blood.
Awesome. Awesome. Happy to hear it. Hello, fellow
Yeah.
crafter.
Yeah. Yes.
So now, are you, being a somatic trauma practitioner, do you incorporate nature and being out?
Yes. So I actually happen to run a wellness hike when it's nice out, obviously, in the dead of winter,
Mhm.
that's not happening. But yeah, a friend of mine who also is a trauma therapist, we run it together and we do this combo of hiking, like intentional hiking, meditation, yoga, and somatic practices. So it's a really beautiful experience. But even in my work in general, my work is so heavily focused on decolonizing. And part of that for me is also teaching people to really trust their instincts, which includes trusting nature and coming back to it. And I don't think you can do one without the other because they're so intrinsically linked. And healing is so much about coming back to yourself, which ourselves are connected to the world around us. So yeah, it's in everything I do, essentially.
Awesome, awesome. How did you, I mean, when you decided to be, when you decided to get in this field, this is I mean, thank you so much because we don't have enough of you guys out there.
Yeah,
But
we're
how did
trying.
you, oh, I know. How did you decide to, you know, realize that what was out in nature could really benefit people?
I knew for me it was always my go-to to process things, and when I was going to school, so for those of you that are not aware of me, which is probably all of you, I started with a background in sociology and women's gender and sexuality. So I was already looking at the broader scope of mental health and healthcare, not just in marginalized communities, but also what affects our health and well-being. And then I went into a social work background as well. So, I can never get enough degrees and go to school enough because overachiever, right? Um, but when you're talking about things like that, you're immediately looking at these socioeconomic factors of things, which includes your relationship to the environment around you. So there was that on one end of it. And a lot of my professors happened to be either indigenous or immigrants from countries like Liberia and places like that, where there was also a very strong cultural context with nature in the health aspect of their lives. So that started to influence things as well. But for me as well, on a personal level, being out in nature, like whether it's me just hiking in the woods and just, paying attention to the senses around me and what it feels like, or being out by water, like me and my partner, that's a big thing for both of us, is just being by water. It is instantly calming for me. I happen to have CPTSD and ADHD, so I need all of the calming help that I can get. And for those of you that are astrology girlies, I'm also a Leo sun, Aries moon, and Taurus rising. So, yeah, my chart is intense as shit. Anything that can bring me down to a less unhinged state is key to my mental health.
Yeah.
So it's like if it works for me, it's probably going to work for a lot of my clients because a lot of my clients also have CBTSD, ADHD, things like that. So
Mhm, mhm.
that's how it started.
That's how it started. So, do you do any sort of solo hiking on your own, or is it usually like a group? Are you
I,
comfortable?
like professionally, yeah, we run the group together, but personally, I am always finding time to be out in nature, whether it's solo or whether it's with friends of mine. Like I have a group of friends that we spend a lot of time doing that again when it's nice out. I mean, for
Yeah,
those of us that are in Ohio, it's
yeah.
kind of shit all today.
Yeah, it's muddy, it's wet, it's cold.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, going outside by myself and just detoxing from everything, from everyone,
Hmm.
it helps me, especially when my overwhelm has hit a high point or when I notice that I'm starting to get very triggered and I need to bring myself back down so that I don't make irrational decisions and do stupid things.
Yes, yes. I mean, it happens, but yeah, it's always good to
Happens.
find a way
Yeah.
to bring
Yeah.
yourself back to center and say, let's not do that because
Mhm.
bad repercussions.
Yeah, so we don't ruin our relationships, our businesses, our careers, things like that.
Mhm.
We don't commit complete anarchy. I'm not opposed, but at the same time, like maybe let's just not do that unplanned.
I was just gonna say, if there was a way to like organize the
Yes.
anarchy
Yes.
in the right way,
Yes,
I'm down with that.
exactly.
Because I really,
Organized,
yeah, no, go ahead.
I was going to say organized anarchy, love it. Let's do it. Let's figure it out. Unorganized, I don't think it's going to help anybody.
Agreed, 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 agreed. And I can only imagine, I mean, you did mention that you are probably swamped right now with the way,
Yeah.
how do I put this? The way the country is right now.
The what I've been calling it is the dumpster fire inside the shit show of our
That
country.
can work.
Yeah. Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
go with that.
Yeah.
Um, so when you take your groups out, is this just this is part of your therapy, correct? Part of the treatment?
It's not necessarily a part of the treatment. It's actually an event that we host. Like anybody can join. You don't have to be a client of either one of ours. It's really something that we both developed because we were co-working one day, doing all of our admin type shit. And we were both back in school at the same time because, again, we can never be educated enough because we grew up with parents that we were never good enough for. And, you know how that goes. We're like, I must achieve all of the things because
Yeah, I
it's
think
just
that,
a side effect. Um, but we were both sitting down. We both love nature. We're both witchy girls and nature girlies. And we're like, I'm just so tired of having to do all this other stuff. Like, I just want to go play out in the woods and just be there. And she was like, same. She's like, do you want to put together like a wellness hike for people? And I was like, yes, let's do that. So that's how it started. And it was just something that we both were like, we don't want to just be stuck inside looking at computer screens all the time. We want to be out and we need it for our souls. We need it for our mental health and our bodies. So let's make something for other people to come and join us and do that. So that's what we did.
awesome. So these maybe like sporadic, or do you try and have like set times or days, I
Yeah,
should
we
say?
actually have them monthly. It's usually the first Sunday of every month when it's nice out. So we usually run it from March to October or November, just kind of depending on, how November looks, because that can be a crapshoot. But yeah, it's been really great. So it's something that we throw it up on Eventbrite, and it's been growing more and more. So we're
Oh,
excited to get the first one of the season launched next month. And
wonderful. Something I
yeah,
have to mark down on my calendar. Um,
yes.
so are
Please.
these like an all day hike, or is it even necessarily a hike, or is it just like a gathering?
Oh no, it's a hike. So it
Okay.
is a 2 hour thing. So we
Oh,
will
okay.
usually start with like a quick drop in, grounding practice, meditation, discussion on a specific topic related to mindfulness and health. And then we'll do some yoga flow, some somatic practice, and then spend like usually about 45 minutes to an hour out hiking. So there's a lot of movement involved, but it's also a lot of discussion and really a great place for people to just decompress, return to themselves, and focus on also being in a community of people that are doing the same thing. Because I think a lot of us are really starved for that as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so definitely now. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are finding that they don't have a connection with a group, you
No.
know, that it's hard to find your community
Yeah.
right now. I
It,
agree.
it is. And I think at the same time, people are really, really wanting that community because we're recognizing, like, hey, this feels isolating and it feels even more isolating and scary. And I don't know what to do alone. And I know that I probably shouldn't be dealing with this alone.
Mm,
So,
definitely.
yeah, it's our little small way to just give to people that's a little bit more low key, but still really, really helpful and really supportive.
Awesome. And I'm sorry, when did you start doing these
We
ventures out?
started it early last year.
Oh,
Again,
okay.
we were just sitting around and it's something that we've both led before. I mean, she has an entire nonprofit that is focused on eco health. So that connection of nature and mental health, which is amazing. And I was already incorporating it in my work. And, we're like, we're friends, we have the same values and philosophies. So, like, what if we just merge our little unhinged forces together and
Yeah.
instead of doing it separately, what if we do it together? And we found that that was really fun for us as well.
Awesome. So you mentioned that this isn't just for, females. This
No,
is for anybody, everybody.
anybody. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you usually just put it out through, I mean, you mentioned you can sign up through was it Everbright?
Eventbrite. Yeah. You
Eventbrite,
usually
Eventbrite.
throw it up there, throw it on Facebook events and stuff like that. And our
Okay.
client list, of course, get invites to it. But yeah, we do it that. Although I don't have a predominantly Columbus client list because I work virtually. So I actually work with people all around the world from
Oh,
anywhere
okay.
from LA to Sydney, Australia,
Oh,
which means I
awesome.
never know what time it is anywhere.
Nice. Nice. So, somatic therapy.
Hmm.
Can you
Yeah,
explain, like, kind of dive in a little bit on that?
absolutely. It's my favorite special interest to talk about. So, the way that I equate this to people is, if you've ever been in a car accident, the minute that let's say somebody cuts you off or slams on their brakes in front of you and it forces you to slam into them accidentally, you know what happens, right? You immediately tense up, you're gripping the steering wheel, your heart rate is going up really high, and you're slamming on the brakes, and you feel probably a little bit shaky and agitated afterward, and obviously a little scared, little angry, a little irritated, little pissed at yourself, pissed at the other person, right?
Mhm,
So
mhm,
when that happens, right, your body is having a physical response to this stimulus, which is okay, two cars just collided, but
right.
that is also tied to the emotional response of things. And then what's interesting is usually, let's say after that, right, you have to quickly go on about your day and you don't really get the opportunity to do anything with it. Or maybe the person does a hit and run and you are pissed, you're upset, right? You can't do anything about it, or you have to just go to work and deal with life. And you notice that you're still really, really upset afterward. And then you notice that anytime you start driving past that spot or getting close to it, your heart rate is increasing. Your body is tensing, right? Your gut is kind of clenching a little bit because it's almost like this, oh, I'm remembering what happened here. And now my body's going into the same response that it did when that happened,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
That's what a lot of us experience. So I usually give people that analogy because when we're just thinking about talk therapy, we're going to discuss what has happened to us. And, they'll ask you, like, how did that make you feel? And usually you're going to get some coping skills with it. But
Yeah.
what it's not doing is dealing with how your body physically responds to the trauma or the stress that you've experienced, right? Because stress is trauma. Trauma is stress. It's all relative. It is a situation, an event that holds an emotional charge for you, and trauma exists when we don't have a way to discharge that fully. So, what's happening is your body is continuously reacting. Now, let's think about, maybe you grew up in a household with parents that were not really emotionally supportive of you. So anytime you were upset, they told you, you're so sensitive, you suck it up, or they made jokes about it. I'm sure there's people listening to this right now that they're like, God damn it, I'm now triggered. But yeah, I know. So my clients.
Yeah.
So anytime you went through that, right, it made you react in a physical way. You would feel closed off, your shoulders would roll in, you would bring your head down, you would feel like just this weight on you and this sense of shame because they're telling you, oh, you're too emotional or whatever. So now, as an adult, anytime you're in a situation with somebody that is very emotionally unavailable and dismisses you, you immediately go into that shutdown state. Your body is curling in, your head is down. You feel that sense of shame because you feel like you're too much. What's happening is your body is physically reacting to that past stimulus and it's associating it with a present moment stimulus. Talk therapy does not help you address that. Talk therapy just has you talk through it and understand, oh, well, this is the connection between the two events. So, what we see happen is people still repeating the same fucking patterns over and over again and still having the same struggles even though they know what those struggles are, they know what they're attached to, but they cannot seem to break the pattern. What somatic experiencing does is help you go into the physical reaction that you're having and discharge it. So when I say discharging it, what I'm meaning is instead of it being such an intense reaction, we use the body's response to address like what you're still holding on to emotionally and help your body relax a little bit more, help your body learn to separate from the past and the present so that instead of you having this big overwhelm because the present moment event is triggering shit from your past. So it's now like all wrapped up together, right? Which is usually why we are way more reactive to situations than we would be if we were just focused on the present moment. Not saying the present moment isn't triggering, but like you can handle it better when it's not all lumped in with a bunch of shit from your past.
Mhm.
So when we separate those things together by understanding how your body is reacting, we can help your body start to calm down, which makes it more possible to handle what's going on currently and do so in a way that's not also triggered by like past shame, past guilt, those that sense of I'm not good enough or whatever, which obviously can change the way you handle anything. I mean, if you don't feel all of that wrapped up in what you're doing now and you're not worried about, oh, well, they're going to think that I am too much if I'm sad because my parents thought I was too much because I was sad. You're not going to be as afraid to share your emotions and open up with people and address things when they come up. So that's the goal of it.
Mhm. I can see exactly why being able to kind of take yourself out of that, even
Mhm.
though you're physically out in nature and you might
Yes.
even be with strangers, but it does sort of get that weight off of you, if that makes sense,
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's, I mean, I myself, when I go out into the woods, it's just different. And you mentioned you have
Yeah.
ADD. My son has ADD,
Yeah.
and getting him out into nature has
Hmm.
always been a therapy for him.
Yeah. Yeah. I find for a lot of us neurospicy peeps, Um, Doing also like a talk therapy method of things is just not as effective for us because our brains are going 5 million miles a minute. Like, I mean, it's like having 100 different tabs open on our computer, especially when we're overwhelmed and stressed out. So
Mhm.
just talking somebody through it is not going to work because we need something to start with there. So finding some type of body-based method to deal with that is usually really, really effective for us. Like even when I'm helping clients process a trauma or something that's very triggering for them,
Mhm.
having them just get up and walk around while they're doing it, it triggers this part of the brain that says, hey, you can get away if you need to, but also it reminds you that you're in your body and it focuses on your body and how your body is responding versus those 100 million tabs that are open in your brain.
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can relax a little bit. I'm okay. I'm safe. I
Yeah.
can close a few of those tabs down.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously being out in nature isn't a cure-all,
No.
but it is definitely, what do I want to say? For me, personally, it's definitely a means to finding my path out of a
Yeah.
situation, whether
Yes.
it's mentally or physically or, whatever it
Yeah.
is. Um,
Yeah.
so that's awesome.
Yeah.
Um, so do you I don't want to say kids. I was going to say you take the kids out, but you take
Mine's
patients.
23, so I mean, they're my kid, but they're not like a kid anymore.
Right. They're adults.
Mhm.
And that's what I wanted to, my brain just wasn't putting the words together. So is this for adults only, like 18 and over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, right now we have it for adults. My partner for this, Jeannie, she's done tons of work with kids, and I love kids too. I mean, again, I'm a mom. But considering some of the topic matter we're doing, we're definitely keeping it more 18 and up
Mhm.
because obviously, there's going to be discussions of hard things there and
Yeah.
stuff that we're facing and not that we're opposed to kids, but when we're talking about like relationship struggles and mental health, sometimes it's nice to also just have a place that's for you, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. That's
Yeah.
definitely understandable. Understandable. Are these usually done in like the same park or same
Yeah.
course, or do
Yeah,
you
we
like?
we do them over at Highbanks every time. So
Okay.
we
Okay.
we were looking at different parks that we wanted to do it, and we started with Highbanks. We're like, you know what? This park is so great because I mean, if you've ever been there, like there's so many great trails there, and it's just such a beautiful place. So that's where we ended up deciding to stay.
Okay, awesome. And you said that's the first Sunday of every month when, weather permitting and all that jazz.
Yes, weather permitting.
Right, right. In
Fingers
Ohio,
crossed.
who knows?
Exactly. Like you just never know what's going to happen.
So let's see. You like to go, so have you guys thought about maybe making this like a weekend thing or a retreat thing that
Yeah,
might?
so we've actually talked quite a bit about that because Jeannie has run retreats before and I've run day events before, but um, obviously with things being the way that they are, we were definitely not planning on doing that this year. We wanted to see like how does this year?
Yeah. How is this first year gonna play out? Uh,
Yeah.
I really don't know. Let me get
Yeah.
my magic 8 ball.
Yeah, I don't even think the 8 ball could tell us at this point. I think the 8 ball would just be spinning around going, I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. So, I mean, that would be amazing, a retreat
Yeah.
like that, but I'm sure there's a whole lot that would go into it.
Oh yeah.
And it's great that it's not just, patients only, that anybody who,
Hmm.
could use some of that therapy. I mean, just
Yeah.
like, we've already touched base on it, just being out, um,
Yeah.
in therapy can just, or I mean, in nature can be very therapeutic.
Yes.
So you obviously see patients in an office.
No.
Um, oh, that's
Nope.
right.
Do not.
Nope. You're virtual. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. The only thing that I do have is a somatic healing circle that I lead weekly, and it's in Westerville. There's a small yoga space that is absolutely beautiful. It's called Align Yoga and Wellness. Um,
Okay.
even if you're not coming to that, please check it out. Her classes are amazing, and it's just the most beautiful little like studio. It's got this like kind of, I call it like the ethereal calm because it's like, that like just soothing lighting and everything in there. And I happened to be walking past it like not long after she opened it, and I was like, oh my God, I've been looking for a new space to hold this circle, and it's literally in my neighborhood. So when it checked it out, and we got off really well and started hosting my circle there. I think, what was it, July last year? Because I'd been hosting it at a few other places, but just they were spaces that a lot of different practitioners were renting out, and there wasn't as much availability as I needed there to be. So it was like perfect timing.
So you not only see patients virtually, you have a
Hmm.
wellness circle, and
Hmm.
you also do retreats.
Yeah. Well, and I also have a Patreon
And you have
where
a
it is,
Patreon. What's
and I
going
have a
on with the
Patreon.
Patreon?
Oh, it's great. I call it Healing Out Loud. It is all of these somatic practices that I use with clients. So it is for people that are looking for like self-guided healing, but they also want a space to build community, to talk about the things. So monthly, I will come in there and chat about a different topic. We'll do a guided practice together. And I'll also have like a monthly, just completely somatic yoga flow that we do together in there. But it's a really, really great space. It started with like a lot of my group and one-on-one clients being like, I love these practices. I wish I had access to them like more frequently because they're really helpful and the way that you guide them is helpful. And me just trying to do it on my own is, you know, it's hard to do that. So I was like, all right, well, let me start just filming these things. And then I was like, you know what? Why the fuck don't I just make this a thing? Because we
Ooh,
have a group chat. So why don't I just like make this a actual tangible thing that anybody could access, so you don't have to be a client of mine, you don't have to be in any specific thing, but a lot of us are looking for accessible ways to deal with our emotions and deal with what's in front of us and all of our attachment issues and all of our stressors or whatever. So I wanted it to be really, really accessible and something that anybody could join if they're wanting to. And a lot of the practices, they're adapted for people like us. So with that very neurospicy slash trauma brain mind that needs just a little bit of a different way of processing and dealing with things, because that I find is the thing that most of us struggle to find.
yeah, yeah. So these have probably a fee or
Mhm.
something to join? Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
So
but the intro fee is $25 a month. So, I mean, the Patreon is like nothing. I'm not saying it's nothing, but like, $25 a month is pretty damn accessible for what you get in there.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's so much. You have a lot on your plate. Oh my God. And you said you were 23?
Oh no, I'm 44.
Oh, why did I think you said you were 23? I don't
I don't know, but I'll take the compliment.
I mean, you could, I'm just saying. Well, that is awesome. I'm definitely gonna attach, the information to
Yeah.
the podcast, to the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And let's see, you said you're not really going to be starting the outdoor activities. Those are done in Columbus, correct?
Yes, in Columbus.
Yeah.
Our first one, let me see the dates. It will be on March 9th. We decided to make that the second weekend just because we were like, probably safer to
Gotcha.
start with because March is such a crapshoot weather-wise. So we were like, maybe we'll do, instead of the first weekend, we'll do the second weekend, and fingers crossed,
Right.
it won't
Right.
be snowing or hailing or whatever it does.
I don't even know. I don't know. I don't even want to pretend to like make an assumption when it's March.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. It's snow, it's rained.
Exactly.
Not around
So,
here.
so fingers crossed, March 9th, we will all be out in Highbanks meditating, doing some yoga, getting out there hiking together, having a great time. And
But you found that like yoga also sort of helps with the
oh
trauma
yeah,
as well, like exercise, things like
yeah. Yeah, and again, we're doing it with a little bit more intention. So, I mean, yoga in itself, if you're looking at the tradition of yoga, like the Hindu tradition of yoga, it
that.
is a somatic practice in itself. That's why it always cracks me up when people are like, I've never heard of somatics before. I'm like, yes, you have. You don't realize you have, but you have.
Mhm.
Because the whole point of it is the mind-body connection. So the only difference is we both bring in a much more trauma informed and trauma trained perspective into it. So we're going a little bit beyond just the mind body connection, but we're also using it to facilitate how do we move things through our body? How do we connect to what we're holding on to emotionally and physically and help discharge some of that?
Awesome. That's fascinating. I definitely want to sign up.
Yay! Please
Definitely want to check
do.
it out. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything you'd like to add? Anything you want to tell anybody? I mean, obviously, we're not alone. They're not
No.
alone. We all
Yeah.
are feeling the same. A lot of us are feeling the same feels.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. And I think I guess that's what I would leave off with. Like if you feel like what you're feeling right now is overwhelming and it's too much, and that maybe you are the only one feeling this, you're not. And I really encourage you to take that big leap. I know sometimes it's scary to be vulnerable and to connect with people, but take that big leap and let them know how you're feeling, because when you do that, you're going to be surprised at how many other people are there with you. And being in a space with people where they're validating how you're feeling, that is one of the most effective ways to support yourself and to support other people. It is proven, like we've done some research on this, that one of the most effective things about therapy, like good therapy or good therapeutic practices, is having a practitioner or therapist that is really, really good at validating what you're feeling and what you're experiencing, because it makes you feel seen and heard in a way that maybe you haven't for a while. And right now, we're all spiraling with a lot going on, in our own lives, but also what we're witnessing around us. So take that leap to open up to people, build community if you don't have it, find community wherever it is available to you, and lean into it, because you'd be surprised about how much it can actually help just to take some of the weight off your shoulders.
Mhm. For sure. That's perfect. That was great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk with me and everybody else. And we really appreciate you. I appreciate you. I
Oh,
can't tell
thank
you
you.
how great it is to find people like you that are out there, giving your time and your mental energy and your physical energy. It's a lot, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you so much. And thank you for so much for having me on here. I'm really
Sure.
excited to see how this turns out and everybody's response to it. But I also love like the fact that you're providing a space for especially women to connect with themselves and nature a little bit more and find some power in that. It's
Definitely.
beautiful.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
All right. You have a good day. Thank you again.
You're welcome.